Good evening. All right.
Go ahead.
That cue to the snare drum could have been a little bit more vivid with not only with the hand, but doing that sooner, not during necessarily, like communicating with the snare drum beforehand, making eye contact, and then bringing that down. That could have been more effective that way. That was a little better. I get what you're going for, but with a group of students, especially a high school age student, um, make that more vivid. Like I understood it, but would they understood it, or would they understand it? That needs to be a little bit more exciting. You know what I'm trying to say. It's been a long week. Make sure we're breathing. Make sure you're speaking up a little bit more. I know this is a silent rehearsal, but when you're announcing letter chunks or measure numbers or whatever, that's not very easy to hear for this camera in the back. So make sure that we're speaking loud enough and emoting confidence and all that sort of stuff. That was effective.
Feedback.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, give feedback. I might have even done that again just to reinforce that because that was the time we got most out of that gesture, and they responded to it again. So to make it more the consistent thing, I might do that again.
And if you can do, if you think about, if you're giving feedback and you wanted to give it silently about dynamics, you could do, right? Or if it was about space, right? Something like that, just to kind of reinforce this thing. Keep going.
That wasn't as big as you were doing it when you got the best response. So sorry, I'm chewing on candy. I'm trying to make it through this week on caffeine and candy. Um, yeah, make sure that that's as big as it was earlier when we got the big response out of it because that time it wasn't as good and you didn't do as much.
Bassoon, clarinets, sax, and triangle. 133.
Eye contact. The attack was shady, and you didn't make eye contact at the beginning. So that's something I struggle with the same thing.
I'll tell you what, think chew before you start giving this instruction and think about, could you give this instruction while they're playing? Okay. Now, did you get what you wanted?
Yeah, to me, that hand, the left hand thing that you were doing there, very smooth, that to me reads the word delicate. And that seemed to be what you got. So that was effective. That's good.
Okay, keep going. 133, everybody.
Contact with the trumpet section was good. Still got our head buried in the score, though. So you smiled before that. What does that mean? Is that like, it's one of those like abstract terms, because it's like you're trying to get a dark sound, you're trying to get a happy sound. That's what I read, at least. So maybe think about what you can do there to give them a concrete like sound concept. I don't know what that may be, but so aside from the fact that they're on secondary instruments and that's not going extremely well, this is one of those moments that Dr. Slagle's talked about being like a put the baton down moment. I feel like, because I feel like when you said you're smiling and you're trying to get them to do a certain thing, but you can't do that while you conduct at the same time. So maybe that's something like, I know Cecile was like stomping during Shepherd's. So something like that, maybe we frolic and hop around or whatever. I don't know, something like that. Maybe that's something we try to communicate better that way.
So sometimes folks just need to do it again, and there's not a lot of words you can say. They probably know what, and probably more than anything, those kind of mistakes, they benefit from getting to go a little bit slower, right? And you don't necessarily need to make them do it by themselves, right? So they just need to do it again. They don't necessarily need to be
that's true. They are on secondary instruments, and though these are college students, around college students that get it, maybe they're embarrassed. Maybe that's not the best way to go about that. I did the same thing when I went through Declaration Overture the other day. I had the trumpet section play their melody by themselves, and they probably would have played better, and I could have just given the attention to them while the whole ensemble was playing. So maybe that's something we could have done here too.
Spotlight to do by themselves. So you could probably go back to a 2D scenario, go a little slower, and see if they can clean that stuff up. Now, if you've done that, you've slowed down, you've given some instruction, and that's still kind of sloppy, you might have to say some stuff. But if what's going on there is just, it's not quite under their fingers, it's not under their tongue, that kind of thing, probably words from you don't help. You know that's happened to you, right? You've made a mistake in rehearsal and somebody's saying something to you, and you've thought to yourself, I don't need any instruction. I just need to do it again, right? It's just not quite in my technique and in my fingers yet. That's likely what this is.
Okay. Everybody pick up stool 49.
And go a hair slower, just to help, just to let that happen. Maybe even a couple hairs. Yes, good tempo.
So there's a lot of, especially in the percussion section, I hear a lot of stuff being like really accented, but we're doing the same thing with our hands. We're mirroring. So what can you show for somebody in the back that doesn't get as much love? Something to give them confidence and something to like bring out and accent those parts that I hear them doing, but I know that's just because it's probably Pearson playing snare drum. It sounds like Pearson to me. So he knows how to read the music and how to attack it, but you also have to remember this is a college level ensemble. He's one of our top players. Somebody in high school playing the snare drum part might not get it. So make that as obvious as you can. I want the more aggressive, punchy sound here in your face, so that was good. Cool.
Can we go back to the beginning?
Yeah, so you made a facial gesture there, but you were still looking into the score. I feel like you probably know this piece a lot better than you think you do. So let's get up a little bit. Dr. Weimar always talks about looking over the top of their heads. I feel like right now we're looking down at people with our chin pointed this direction and our eyes doing this or into the score. So the more we can get up and do this, I feel like they feel your presence a lot better and respond to you better. That gesture could start from up here and come down and start from up here and coming down. Yes. I feel like those last notes could have been
Thank you.
a little bit better. Yeah, so a lot of the exact same stuff that I'm dealing with. I look into the score a lot because honestly, I'm just out of my element and I'm trying to make sure I see everything that's going on. There wasn't a lot of feedback that was given, but also I gathered what you were trying to accomplish through your conducting. So cool. That was obvious to me though, but like I kept saying, it might not be obvious to somebody else who's younger and hasn't been around this for as long. So the more you can exaggerate some of that stuff, definitely be helpful to your ensemble understanding what you're trying to get out of them, especially like with that flute thing or the flute woodwind thing that happened that one time earlier in the video. Went really well one time because you did a lot, and then before and after we didn't do as much and it didn't happen as well. So making sure that you can non-verbally communicate what you want from them while it's happening, that's important. It's obviously what this was intended to work on. So cool.